Right. So we start with the presentation. So one of the things that inspires me in my work is actually my grandmother. Because when I was young, she used to tell me that the harvest has been reducing over time. And what is interesting is that for her, she wanted me to go to school, study really hard, and go and get employment. But as I grew, I realized that I'm not the only one who depends on the farm. Millions of children, millions of people globally depend on agriculture for their food. But what is worse is that, let's go to the next slide, is that farmers are paying 2 to 5 times the world global prices. Now, that is not the only thing. If you look at it in last year, when the Russian-Ukraine conflict started, fertilizers in our country, Kenya, actually increased by 100%. Now, that means these farmers are being subjected to inflation and price fluctuation, which they don't have control over. So what they do, or what they end up doing, is that they end up buying the cheapest of the fertilizers that over the long time, using these fertilizers, their soil become acidified and their crop yields reduce, making them food insecure. If you think about it, that is not acceptable. And we cannot continue on that path. So Safi Organics, let's go to this, the next slide. Safi Organics is actually rewriting this story. And how do we do this? We use technology which we have invented to decentralize and small-scale fertilizer production. And we do it through a very simple way. Because number one, we work with youth groups. Now, these youth groups, when they come to us, we train them on the conversion process. So their major work is actually to correct crop residues, whether from the mills or from the farmers, and aggregate them. Then we give them the technology, which are actually can be transported from one area to the next, where they convert this biomass into biochar. Now they sell the biochar to us. And once we receive this biochar, we do two things. We grind, then mix it with special nutrient additives to make a planting fertilizer, to make a soil amendment fertilizer, and also to make a top dressing fertilizer. Then we sell this back to the farm, agrovets, through the agrovets. Now, what we have seen, farmers have seen the yields increase by 30%, as well as, because we realize that farmers sometimes just use fertilizers without knowing the needs of their soil. So we brought in a consultancy service that really helps farmers do, number one, soil testing, which we do in our facility. And then we can recommend to these farmers what fertilizers to use and what quantities they can use for effective use. So next slide. Now, compared to other alternatives that are available in the market, setting up a fertilizer plant costs billions of money. Now, on the other hand, setting up Safi Organics production unit will cost less than 100K USD. But come to think, we have decentralized composting. Now, for composting, if the best composting that I've seen is 2 weeks. Now, we are able to do our conversion within 24 hours. However, we don't pride ourselves so much on the efficiency of our process, but we pride ourselves to the fact that we can tailor make the fertilizer almost to a farm level specificity. That is, we identify the soils in a region and we are able to produce fertilizers that is fit for that soil and not like the one fit all kind of production fertilizer that you'd buy from that we import to the country. Next slide. Now we target a fast growing market who happen to be mainly smallholder farmers. And these smallholder farmers, like Mr. Rigu, who is in this picture, his biggest fear when I met him for the first time was if he can be able to feed his children. After using our fertilizer, he got a 30% increase in yield, and that that enabled him take 2 of his children to school now who have a better life today. Now in Kenya alone, we are looking at 4 million this kind of farmers. And globally, we estimate a market worth 30 billion USD, growing at about 3%. Next slide. Now, over the past, we have reached over 10,000 farmers who are using our product. We got to a break-even point in 2019. We have been doing our initial impact assessment based on the fertilizer in comparison to both the synthetic and inorganic in partnership with Cornell University. And currently we have 2 plants. We have a plant in Mwea and we have another plant in Kisumu. And we are looking up to setting 2 more plants before the end of the year. And by the close of the year, we are looking at having over 35 farmers who are using our product. And this will be, next slide, please. This will be enabled by the fact that we are selling our fertilizer. We have been selling our fertilizer directly to farmers, raking in a 40% gross margin. But we have adopted a new model whereby we are selling it now through the agrovets as well as the government stores. And we will be making about 35% gross margin, which is good. And in the medium term to the long term, we are looking at monetizing the technology itself, whereby we can charge per ton usage fee, or we can license and charge the licensing fee. Now, in terms of the very long term, we are looking at venturing into the carbon market. Why we do this is because our product can sequester 1.7 tons of CO2 for every acre of, for every ton of the product that is used. What that means is that we are removing CO2 completely from the environment, and hence we say our product is carbon negative. Next slide. Now, in terms of the financials, last year we did about $320,000, and next year we are anticipating to go past the $1 million mark in terms of sales. This mainly is sales revenue that we capture here. Next slide. Now, all this has been enabled by a fully functional and able team that is led by I with a background in agribusiness. We have Joyce, who is an expert in logistics and supplies, and currently works as our operations officer. We have Juni Wangare, who is our chief marketing officer. She has over 30 years experience in marketing, working with FMCGs. And then we have Dr. Kevin Kung, who is physics. He has a doctor in philosophy in physics. And the good thing is he's the one working on the technology. So, and up and beyond this team, as the four of us, we have a fully supportive team of 20 individuals who work every day to ensure that our product gets to the market. Next slide. Now, the good thing with Safi Organics, we don't only look at the profits and how much profits we are making, but we have integrated the profits with impact. So far today, we have created over 150 jobs, and mainly these are direct jobs because, for example, the youths in the community, we have over 60 youths who are working to do the conversion. We have increased the farmers' rural income by over $1 million so far, and sequestered over 43,000 tons of CO2. Now, as we increase our capacity and increase the number of farmers, we are looking at increasing the rural jobs to around 1,700 by next year, and sequester over 300,000 tons of CO2. Now, we welcome you today to join us. If you see a potential in what Safi Organics is doing, we welcome you to join us, and we work together to ensure that we help farmers to sustainably place food on our tables. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samuel, for that presentation.
Amanda, I cannot hear you.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes,
no?
Now I can hear you.
Who knows? I think it took a few seconds for the microphone to re-engage. So thank you for that amazing.
Yes, we can hear you, Amanda.
All right. Thank you for that amazing presentation, Samuel. And I did just want to maybe give a chance to Samuel to ask a few questions in a panel-like matter. But I had my first question for you, and then we'll pass to Samuel. My first question for you, Samuel, is join us. What are some ideas that you have for people who are on the call today to join the movement that you have started with Safi Organics?
Perfect. So in terms of our development and looking at how we are working towards increasing our reach, I'll give an example. In Tanzania right now, we are setting up Safi Organics through partnership from one of the teams that we have been working remotely with. So kind of we are giving them our brand, giving them our technology to use, and they establish an organization or a Safi Organics wing in Tanzania. So there is a lot of potential in terms of the way that we can work with individual companies, because we believe in any country that we'll move to, we'll have to work with partners within that country. Number two, we are looking at the youth. Potentially, they are the ones who are the future of Africa. So they're the present and the future of Africa, that are my youth. Now, we are looking at them taking advantage of our system already, what we have established, and running with it and establishing it within their community, because this is simple and easy to work with. However, we also understand that one solution will never be enough. And definitely we can look into the possibilities of different solutions and bringing them together to create a bigger synergy for the smallholder farmer and for the world in general. So for that reason, we are also open to different types of partnership for them who want to come to this country. For example, there is a huge gap for pesticides and pest control biologically here in the country. So we are looking for people who are looking at that or who are building along that line, and then they can become part of Safi Organics, or we can have partnership to work together with them.
Well, I think that sounds really great. Talking about partnership, maybe later on you can put in your preferred method of contact into the chat box. I'd like to pass maybe to Samuel, who might have seen some questions in the chat or might have some questions now of his own.
Yes, thanks so much, Samuel. Indeed, there is quite a lot of question and discussion going on the chat, and I've been able to take note of some of those questions, and we should be able to deep dive on them. But I'm just curious, even before we get to that, a normal question we get to ask our entrepreneurs: how did you find yourself in this space? What inspired you? I know you talked about your, was it your grandmother?
Right.
Yeah, there's that story behind that. But in terms of now getting to this space and saying, I want to deep dive on this and now make a business sense, how did you find yourself here?
So in 2013, okay, let me start. When I finished school, I got employed for 1 year, but I realized that I'm very hard to deal with, because at the end of the day, I will look for the best that I can do. And sometimes the management might not think that is the best. So I worked for 1 year with an NGO. When I realized I might not be a fit for employment, then I said I can start my own thing. And at that point, I was looking at, because I was working in the farm, I was looking at farmers really have a lot of waste. And this waste itself, they don't have anything that they're doing with it. They actually end up burning it. So my thought was, if we can get a use for this waste, then we can create an extra income for the farmers. And in 2013, I actually started a briquette company because then it was very lucrative. The government has just banned charcoal, and briquettes seemed to be one of the things that would pick in the country very well. Just like most people will do, run into a business just because there's an opportunity. Unfortunately, the briquettes didn't boil a pot of tea. And that was the end of the big dream of pursuing briquettes, despite the fact that I had invested a lot of machinery into it and was looking into making it big. So that didn't work out. So when that didn't work out, I was like, what else can we do with the waste in the farm? So the other idea was, I found the mosquito coil company, one of the largest mosquito coil companies in Kenya, and I convinced them we produce eco-friendly mosquito coils. We sold several millions of these mosquito coils. However, the business was not really feasible, more so in terms of the financials, would take about 10 years, 7 to 10 years to break even. And I didn't have that kind of money to really keep pushing the business. So after 1 year, I thought, well, what if we take this back to the farm? Because at the end of the day, we are taking it from the farm and we are mining the nutrients. So we found Mr. Dan, who was very, very ready to try our product. And when he tried our product, he was so excited because he doubled his yield for that season. For us, it was that eureka moment that now we have something that can work on our soil, and we have built on
Interesting, Sam, the journey that you actually went through with different kind of businesses to actually getting to now saying, yeah, I actually want to go with this. No, certainly that's an inspiration to many, because one of the reasons why we have this session is to be able to introduce people to new ideas that can actually complement, or even they can do something different to what they're actually doing. So getting to hear that is indeed an inspiration to me. Now let's get back to now the product itself. And I've seen quite a number of questions coming in on the chat in terms of, tell us, one, what is this biochar? And then two, how does this technology work? Can you just take us through how does it work? So you aggregate these waste, what happens? Yeah.
So one of the things, how do you produce biochar? Basically, we have experience of charcoal if we grew up in rural areas. So it's simply exposing material to limited oxygen. You are able to create charcoal. Now, if you expose biochar to limited oxygen and you heat it in limited oxygen, then you will create biochar. That is why it's called biomass charcoal. It's kind of a short form, but it's now biochar. It is the accepted term in terms of it. Now, as we know it, charcoal itself is not a fertilizer, as one of the person have commented. However, we also know that charcoal can be used to amend the soil. So initially, when we started as a soil amendment company. Now, because charcoal is alkaline in nature, when it is added to the soil, it's able to rectify the acidic problems of the soil. However, charcoal also has another very significant effect on the soil, because it is able to absorb the bad elements or the toxins in the soil. It's able to absorb them and make the soil clean. Just as we started some, and you mentioned that the soils are sick. So charcoal actually can remedy that. So now, once we realized, when we went to the farmer with our amendments, the farmers asked us, why do we have to go back to the shop and buy fertilizer? Why not bring us fertilizers? And we said, well, we are up to the challenge. So we started researching on how to convert now the biochar into fertilizer. We tried different combination. The simplest was take fertilizer, the normal fertilizer, combine it with biochar, and then you see what happens. And one of the biggest problems that we had, a farmer lost in one of the plots where we were doing trials, the farmer lost everything because it was not compatible at that level. So we had to look for different alternatives. And these nutrient elements that we add to the biochar, most of these we are making them in our facility. So we kind of make them ourselves. We also work with other people, like we work with people who are doing black soldier fly. The flask is part of what we add to the biochar. We also have things like rock phosphate, it's that we add. So it's a different combination of materials that we are adding to the biochar to make sure that the farmer gets the best and gets a fertilizer, actually gets the fertilizer. So now that is why we made it kind of open source for farmers. They can produce, and we train for farmers to produce their own biochar, for the youth to produce their own biochar. But we know that is not fertilizer. So now for the fertilizer bit, that is now where we come and make the whole difference, because now that is where we are able to create a specific fertilizer for specific soils. So depending on the soil and what you are adding, that is what creates the specificity of our fertilizer.
Thanks so much, Sam. Now for the technology, you talked about 2 hours.
Right.
So how does it work? And then even as you say that, I see a lot of question coming in terms of what material should I use? I'm a rice farmer, so I have
Right.
rice waste, or I'm a maize farmer. So what qualifies? What material qualifies? Yeah.
So what material qualifies? You can use any crop residue. So far, we have worked with corn, we have worked with corn stalks, combs, we have worked with rice husks, we have worked with bagasse, we have worked with coffee husks, macadamia husk. So kind of in terms of wood chips in a different setting, we have worked with different materials. So much of those materials work. Now, in terms of the technology that we are using, what happens is our technology is continuous. It's a continuous technology. Previously, we have been using a batch process, a technology that is as old as 3,000 years back and was being used in China. So that is what we were using. But now we are adopting a continuous process that enables us to produce biochar continuously. So that is why we say in 2 hours, you'll have enough biochar for a farm, because a farm will require between 150 kilogram to about 300 kilogram, depending on the soil conditions. So we are able to produce that within 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours max. So now, the other thing is, there is always the question of smoke. Now, with our new technology, we have been in a position to regulate smoke. Compared to open burning, we are actually saving over 99.5% of smoke. So at the end of the day, this is something that we have done. And in terms of the carbon, now once you get charcoal, let me just use the word charcoal here. Once you get charcoal, charcoal is mainly carbon. And now this carbon, you are burying it in the soil. So when you bury the carbon in the soil, it will not get a chance to combine with oxygen to form CO2. So now that it will not get a chance to combine with CO2, now we say you have removed an equivalent of carbon dioxide or carbon 4 oxide. So that is why we say we are carbon negative, because we are burying the carbon to the soil, and hence we will not be exposing it for it to combine with oxygen. So, and this has been proven by peer-reviewed articles in Cornell by Johannes. Johannes is one of our advisors in the organization. And at the end of the day, he had written quite a lot of articles regarding biochars and quite a lot of publications. So these are some things that we can share with people who have a question on how the whole system works. I'm not an expert in the scientific or in the scientific background on how things work. For me, I understand the agribusiness, the economical part of it. So at the end of the day, but I know the basics around it.
Thank you so much, Sam. Yeah, certainly one of the questions that had been asked is around how does your model then fits into the aspect of carbon market. And I can see John James is actually his gun is out saying that is biochar not a charcoal? Then how are you fitting very well with carbon? But you have actually been able to explain very well. And this last Tuesday we actually went through around this topic, and we did actually understand that there are different ways to actually store carbon, and one of it is actually in the soil. And now I'm able to understand how this is actually possible. And I want to believe, John James, you are now in a good shape, like I do, around that topic. Yeah, maybe before we even open to the rest of the team to actually ask questions, and I see quite a lot of interest for people to connect with you. I just wanted to understand in terms of market, and here looking at smallholder farmers, how has the perception been? Because normally, and especially here in Kenya, most of the farmers would actually trust in organic fertilizer more than the organic fertilizer. But I'm curious to know, how has the market reception been? And then I see on the chat people asking, how is the price when you compare the price of what you're selling and what is actually available in the market?
Thank you for that. Now, in terms of the market, one of the biggest challenge is that farmers have been promised heaven and definitely have been disappointed. And that is one thing. So farmers are a bit skeptical on trying new things because our product is relatively new and the farmers have not had an experience of a similar product. So how do we counteract this? Through demo plots. We work with the farmers and show them a demonstration and they're happy about it. We are also working to resemble like granulated products. So the appearance and whatever the farmers are getting looks like the fertilizer that they are using. And they really love it because they can apply it as well as use machinery to apply it. Now, the other thing is in terms of the market, initially the growth was relatively slow because mainly this was referral based from one farmer to the next. But now what we have done, we have changed our model, and kind of what we have decided is to make the product available for the farmer to get it when they need it and where they need it. And that means simply placing it in the places where they go, which are the agrovets or the agro input shops. So we are placing our product there, and the farmers are happy that they are able to get the product, because most of the time has been farmer needs the product, but they cannot get it next to them. And because they trust these agrovets, so they are able to get the product very easily and to get a bigger conversion ratio compared to when we were doing it direct. So I can't say it has been easy, but you have to keep on speaking to farmers. Some will tell you they'll try, others will tell you they don't want to try. You train them, you continue training them until, I think every year we train over 6,000 customers, the farmers who we train. So, and basically from that 6,000 customers, probably we'll get a quarter new customers from them. So you have to keep on doing quite the hard work of talking to farmers. There is no shortcut. Basically, that is the way the market is. And at the end of the day, we are also happy to use farmers as our referrals. That really works well. When you have farmers who can vouch for your product, who can talk about your product. We have farmers who we got in 2016 and they're still using our product, although not in large quantities, but they are happy about our product. So now in terms of the price, our value proposition to the farmers is this. For the same amount of money you use in your fertilizer purchase, we will give you a 30% increase in yield. So per kilo of our product will cost about 50 shilling. That is what the farmer will pay, compared to synthetic fertilizer, for example, DAP, where per kilo will cost 120 shillings. So, however, when using our product, you are using more product. As I mentioned, you use between 150 to about 300 kilograms per acre. So, all per hectare. So, at the end of the day, what happens is per use in the farm, the farmer will spend almost the same amount. Sometimes you find they're spending about 5% less, but that is not significant. But where we tell the farmers is you will get 30% increase in yield. And that really moves the farmers because they can see the advantage of using our product.
Thanks, Sam, for sharing that. So certainly we'll be able to get to that point where people can ask questions. So feel free to raise your hand so that we can give you an opportunity to ask someone a question. But I can't go without asking this question. Samuel, you have been part of the land aggregator. I want to believe 2019, if I'm not wrong, cohort.
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
So you're among the pioneer of the land aggregator. So maybe you may want to talk about your experience with the land aggregator, and also has there been any benefit having participated in the program? And then we can give people a chance to ask you a question. So they raise their hand up and then we give them a slot. Yeah, someone.
Perfect. So having participated in 2018 in the land accelerator was a big eye opener, because at the end of the day, we were able to meet other people who are doing what the same thing and the same thinking. And what happens with these meetups and meeting people, you create kind of a synergy, and sometimes you get new connections in places where you wouldn't think that you could be in a position to do that. So basically, we have benefited from, and over time, I think almost every year I participated in the land accelerator one way or the other. So through that, we are able to get people who are interested in what we are doing. We are also able to get people who are doing things that could be an additional to what we are doing. And we have been in a position to work together and come up with better ways. And also part of the development, for example, the consultancy bit of it, this has been developed from what I've learned mainly from these other partners, and one of the challenges that is happening to the farmers. So it has been quite beneficial. For us, during our time, there was no money for this, but at the end of the day, it has opened ways and means to raise money. And we have been in a position, like recently, to submit to the Terra March Fund, and we got asked to submit the full proposal. So kind of at the end of the day, this, I would say, it's an opportunity. And as long as you keep following it and you keep speaking with the people and looking at what the market has and the needs that are there, there will always be another opportunity being created for you. So I would say it's a great thing that happened to us. And as a team, we were really happy as it opened up quite a huge opportunity and partners for us.
Interesting to hear that, Samuel. Yeah, so we may now want to focus on questions, and I see David hand is up. So should you have any question to Samuel, feel free to raise your hand. Just click where it says reaction, and you should be able to see a hand sign there. David, maybe we can cross over to you, David, for your question. Yeah.
Thanks very much. Samuel, thanks very much. And I would like to congratulate, actually, Samuel, you know, the way he has presented the subject matter to us with the perfect, very good statistics. Thanks very much, Mr. Samuel Rigu, for that. My question actually is very small. And maybe the point I am interested to know exactly what are the specific environmental justice issues that your company is addressing. In my mind, I am feeling that with the organic fertilizer, you are addressing the issues of land degradation. When you are using organic fertilizers, very often you are degrading the soil fertility and so on. I am thinking of that, but you can elaborate more, clarify on that. But the fact that your raw material is the charcoal, maybe the quantity of charcoal that you are using may have an impact on tree cutting, on deforestation. Perhaps that could be an intended negative effect of the company. And the related question: how are you planning to address such kind of an issue? Please, kindly, you can share, your response on my question.
Thank you very much for that. Number one, for us, we don't use wood. And it's because I use the word charcoal, but that was to create the understanding of what biochar is. So mainly we are using biomass or crop residues from the farm. That is what we convert to biochar. So there is nowhere we are cutting charcoal. Okay. But in terms of environmental justice, we are addressing several things. Number one, we are improving the soils, as you mentioned, and rejuvenating these soils. It simply means we are able to get more in terms of the productivity. Number two, we are working on having a better environment. So in terms of climate change, we are countering the effects of climate change. So through mitigation, because farmers are now able to adapt to ways in which they can produce without necessarily working against the environment. So number three is we are saving on water. Water is a critical resource for production. However, from written articles and from articles that have been written is that water, all biochar has been shown to reduce the amount of water needed by 15%. So we are able to save on water in most of the cases. And we have seen that in the farm when farmers have had drought, and still those who used our product are harvesting, and those who didn't are not harvesting anything. So kind of we have seen that very practical in the farms.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much. That really covers what I have asked. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks, David, for that question. Yeah, maybe we can get to hear Daniel, and then you go to Bertin. Daniel.
Thank you, Samuel. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just want to ask two questions.
Sorry, Daniel, you're breaking.
I appreciate what you're doing.
Daniel.
That I have is, we're talking about the.
Oh, you're breaking. I wanted to ask you to switch off your video. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, all right. What I want to ask is, like commercializing this fertilizer. The way I understand it, that you are having inputs from crop waste, that is mostly from the production of agricultural products. So in the context of African agriculture, our farmers, smallholder farmers, usually integrate the wastage from their crop. When you are thinking about commercializing this project and increasing your production, don't you think it will have a negative impact on the farmers in the other way around? Because unless it is supported by commercial fodder production to feed on their cattle, don't you think it will have a negative impact? Thank you.
I'm not sure whether Samuel, you're able to hear him correctly.
I think it's the question. The question is regarding the competing needs of the farmers. So what I would say in terms of, for example, rice husk. Let me just use rice husk as an example. Majorly, there has been no commercial use of rice husks in Africa. In other countries, we have seen, like India, there has been quite a lot of power generation. We have also seen chipboards being built. And recently, when we entered into the market, rice husk didn't have any commercial use in it. So it was being banned just to get rid of it. So at the end of the day, yes, we understand that farmers maybe, like for corn stock, they may want to feed it to their livestock. But on the other hand, the question is, what really creates value for the farmer? If feeding the corn stock to the livestock would give the farmer 10 shilling, but if they used it to make biochar, it will give the farmer 11 shilling. Definitely all the farmer needs to understand is the unit economics. And the farmer will choose to go for the 11 shilling rather than the 10 shilling. So at the end of the day, what we are creating is value. And if we create good value, then it means the farmer will benefit, because the farmer then can choose to sell the cattle and concentrate on the biochar and then buy milk, because the biochar at that point would be making a bigger revenue for him than the cattle in the farm. So that is one of the things that we got to look at. So, however, in terms of as we are setting up, you can realize, for example, we started with Moya, a rice growing area. So in Moya, we have access to mainly macadamia husk and rice husk and rice straws. Right now, rice straws, we don't access them. When we started, we used to use rice straws. Right now, the rice straws, we don't access them because they're being built for the cattle. So kind of that is now outside our reach. But in India, just to give an example, in India, where we have been trying to do some biochar, we are actually using rice straws. Because the farmers don't have any use for those, they actually ban them in the farm. So at the end of the day, these crop residues will have different uses, but the question is, what value will we be adding to what the farmer already has? So if you're able to add a bigger value, we will have access to the materials. If not, we will not have access to the materials. That is our argument.
Thank you so much, Samuel. I see time is not on our side. Quite a lot of questions, a lot of interest coming in. Maybe we can have one more last question. I would kindly request Abubakar, Simon, Rufin, if you can actually drop your question on the chat, and maybe we can provide answers even as you send the recordings. Yeah, Bettine, you may want to come in. You're on mute, sir, if you're trying to speak. Bettine. Okay, he seems to be muted. Now that Rufin, your hand is up, then maybe you may want to go next.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
You hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Rufin.
Yeah, I'm looking from Malawi. I wanted to find out the initiative which you are doing is very good. Here in Malawi, we usually get such initiative from Tanzania. We call it Mbeya organic fertilizer. Is it similar to what you are doing yourself there? And if it is so, how can we also have such services in Malawi so that we can access from what you are doing there.
Great. So in Bear, we have not worked at Safi Organics. However, I've shared my my contacts on the chat. So anyone can reach me. The two numbers are also available on WhatsApp. Although on WhatsApp, I will take a while before I respond. And if you use the office line, somebody else will respond before I can get to it. However, we are open. We are starting on the closer side to Kenya through the Morogoro region. That is where we are setting up Safi Organics. But I know sooner or later, we will get to you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Expansion to Malawi right there. We have 2 more minutes. I had seen the hand of Abubakar before requesting him to drop down. Abubakar, if you are here, you may want to ask your question, and I did take note that you're actually in this space as well. Abubakar, are you able to unmute yourself and speak? Okay, Abubakar.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you
yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Samuel. I'm very much happy to be part of this cohort and also to see what you're doing. I'm also in organic fertilizer production, preferably compost. But due to your presentation and the way you are doing your own and the market you have got, it's just a request I'm making. If you can share your email so that I will contact you for partnership. I'm based in Sierra Leone. So basically it's not about question. Thank you very much.
Yes, check my contact. I've shared it on the chat. Yep. You can contact to me via that email.
Thank you, Abubakar. We have 1 more minute. Simon, I see Majeni. I see your hand is up. Maybe we can have that as the last question, and then back to Amanda after that. Majeni?
Yeah, thank you so much. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we hear you. Great.
Yes.
Great. Congratulations, Samuel, for what you are doing. And my question is, if I'm not mistaken, on your slides, you said one of your long-term revenue stream is to sell, I didn't understand, is to sell the formula to other big fertilizer producers, or technology, I don't know. But the way you're explaining it, it seems like something someone can go into it and do it in the land, especially those who are already in the market and have the capacity and the facility to do that. How do you protect that, or maybe how do you prepare to sell that? As you say, the formula or is the technology?
Thank you, Simon. No, we are two-pronged. We have the fertilizer and we have the technology to make the fertilizer. So in terms of the expansion, we are leasing out the technology, and the technology is equipped with the IoT, and we are able to monitor what it can produce or how much it has produced and its location, specific location. So through that, we are able to charge our fee. But now, when it comes to manufacturing and where these large organizations are coming in, equipment manufacturers, it's when it comes to manufacturing, it might be difficult for us to be in a position to achieve scale for the manufacturing. So kind of that is where we are partnering with this organization. They do the manufacturing and sell it as part of their product. But for us now, we come in with the software. The software is very key in terms of production, because everybody can produce or anybody can produce biochar. But now the software enables us to produce a specific type of biochar that is suitable for the soils. So kind of at the end of the day, just to give a quick example, Kumaza Forestry is one of the companies that is doing quite a lot in terms of planting trees. they tried over 15 different sources of biochar. And out of all those biochars, the best in terms of mortality rate was at 15%. When they tried our biochar, the mortality rate reduced to less than 1%. So kind of they were like, what are you guys doing? We have tried these things from different companies, and you people, yours is the best. So kind of whatever we produce, we are guaranteed that at the end of the day works and will work for the farmer. So at the end of the day, that is the advantage that we have in terms of the technology. It is currently patented, and the technology is currently patented, and the whatever we are adding is usually mainly is a trade secret, although I mentioned some of the stuff that we are, but it's a trade secret, and we are able to work with that. So as we move along, we are looking into ways in which we can make it this better, and also ensure that at the end of the day, people will not actually replicate it. Although sometimes you may not avoid, but you're trying as much as possible to do that. And maybe just to comment on one of the comments that I've seen here, that the process is not environmental friendly. Yes, you may say biochar process might not be environmental friendly, but Safi Organics biochar production process is environmental friendly. Right now, I'm coming from a conference by International Fertilizer Association. And why they were interested is the fact that for us, we are able to produce a carbon negative. And this is not only by saying, but we have been qualified for carbon negative fertilizer production. So at the end of the day, why we would get qualified is because we are far, far much better than the solutions that are already there when it comes to synthetic fertilizers. And this is one of the reasons why a company like OCP Kenya, OCP Africa is very interested in bringing carbon to its product. And we are looking into building a partnership through that. So at the end of the day, I can guarantee you Safi Organics is a sure way to ensure that we have a sustainable world now and in the future.
Great. Thank you so much, Samuel, for taking our question. There were quite a number, but certainly we have been able to get to learn more about that business, but also the business model behind it. I'll take it back to Amanda to close for us, but otherwise, thank you so much, Samuel Rigu.
Much welcome.
Samuel, thank you. And just remember, everybody, he has a cold and a flu. So thank you so much. Feeling better, feeling calmer about that. I want to remind people, Tuesday is the session that a lot of folks have been looking forward to. Looney will be joining us and presenting on the 12-slide pitch. So from that day forward, people can improve their pitch deck or make their pitch deck for the first time using a lot of the templates and ideas. So come ready to listen, open-minded, be inspired. If you already have a deck, that's really good. You can also take a look at creating a new deck and seeing how that works for you. So something we learn about is always trying new things and iteration, which is a huge thing we heard from Samuel today. How many business models did he try and think about how can we turn value into farm waste that people are usually just burning, kind of polluting the air? How can we turn that into value for farmers? And it took a while to come across that. So everybody who's here, maybe you have a business model that you've iterated on and it's working. We want to help you continue to iterate through your communication style. So come join us on Tuesday, and you can always check our syllabus. We're going to have this on our Restore Forward in the next couple of hours. And we also have on our Restore Forward the presentation and the recording from last Tuesday's meeting. So again, Tuesday's meeting has a different group than our Thursday one, because our Thursday is not mandatory, and it's also open to a wider group of people. So check out everything on the Restore Forward and have a good weekend. And people were also suggesting, if you have videos you've created, you can put the links to the videos you've created on the Restore Forward as well. So go ahead and take a look at that on the video link where we have all the resources for how to create your video, and you can share it there so that people always have a central location when they feel like they want to check out what other people have done as a video. So that was a lot of logistics, probably enough. We can't thank you enough, Samuel, for the time you've had with us. We hope your flight is going to be comfortable, and thank you for joining us from the Amsterdam airport.
Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure and always a pleasure to inspire others. And I'm always happy to work with others, and we move and we make the world a better place. Thank you very much. I wish everybody the best of time. I have to leave. Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. See you on Tuesday.
Bye bye. Bye bye. See you next.